Hi, I'm Yee Ray. I'm currently 18, turning 19 this year. I actually went on a few mission trips before. I think the first one was when I was 9 years old. I went to Cambodia with my family. And subsequently after that, I've actually went to multiple other mission trips to Batam when I was 13 with my Sunday school teachers. And yet again back to Cambodia on my very first solo trip without my family when I was at the age of 17. Initially, my idea of missions was always very fractured. It always seemed like a holiday to me. If not, it always seemed like it was a very reserved kind of mission field for people who are very noble or people who are very passionate, and that you need to have a certain skill set to be able to go on missions. I think the whole desire and passion that ignited in me, it wasn't something that was very bizarre. I think it was through something that was very simple. God simply reminded me, He kept reminding me about the country of India for a specific season of my life, and I think I was asking God why He was showing this to me or why I kept getting reminded of it. And I think it was up until He broke my heart for the people of different nations and countries, and that's when I started to be more interested and curious as to what missions really was. So then I went to talk to my leaders about it. I went to do a bit more of research on what missions is, how can someone partake in missions. But I think at that point of time, I still felt very young. I still felt quite inadequate. So it was up until one of my church conference back in 2022 where God spoke to me, and He told me to just go. I didn't know where God wanted me to go. I didn't know where God wanted to place me. I shared to different and various leaders. And they encouraged me to go. And I think as a result, I decided to look into it more and to go to a neighboring country for missions. I'm someone who actually likes to anticipate. I like to think a lot ahead. If I ever plan something. So naturally there were a lot of fears and concerns that came to me. I think first was, am I too young? Secondly was, what can I offer to God as I go there? Third was, is this an actual calling that God has for me? And these were questions that I had no answers for by myself. But I think God's voice was very clear in my mind, that He called me to go in that instant. My parents are Christians in the same church also, and I went with them for short-term missions when I was much younger. And I think as I thought about going for missions, part of me thought that they would really understand my heart also to be able to go. But I think there were some roadblocks that came along the way, that resulted them to kind of disagreeing with me. And there was a bit of that parental objection. But I decided to seek God again. And I understood that if this is a calling that God has asked me to pursue, that He'll be faithful to the end. So I think keeping that in mind, I decided to persevere in conversations and to kind of talk to my parents about it. And I think through that, God really made a way for me. It led to my parents giving me their full support on my first mission trip when I was 17. I actually had a few roles on my first trip. I had to plan and to conduct an ELG, which is an evangelistic life group, for the locals over there. I had to play guitar, and support vocals in our camp over there. And then last but not least, it would be simply just outreaching at the universities in Cambodia, Phnom Penh. Obviously, I was met with a lot of fears and inadequacy, because naturally these three roles are, I'm not naturally attuned to this. I'm not a very artistic person. Social media is not really my thing. And I think as for guitar-wise, I'm what you call a cell group or live group leader, a live group guitarist. So I only know the G chords or the D chords, and I didn't know anything more than that. It was just a simple strumming pattern. And I think even in outreaching, I was always someone who was very timid to outreach. I think what really changed my mind and my perspective on things was this quote that my pastors or leaders always share of how God doesn't call the equipped, but He equips the called. I went in that trip not knowing what to expect, but I think throughout the mission trip, I saw how God used my weakness for His glory and for His good. I think one interesting experience that we had on our first trip was actually outreaching in the universities. I think as we were outreaching, one of the clear roadblocks that we faced was actually language barrier. Yeah, so the Cambodians, they communicated in Khmer, is their language. So we actually realized that it was hard to outreach to them. It was hard to invite them for our event because they didn't understand English. I think that's when we decided to go around the school to start praying that like the Holy Spirit would show us to the people that would know how to speak English. Yeah, such that there won't be this language barrier that like we had to go through with. To our surprise, the few other people that we approached after that, they actually were quite fluent in English. Yeah, so we were able to properly communicate with them, to share the gospel and to invite them for our evangelistic life group. Yeah, so I think that was a clear sign that like God was with us and that the Spirit was working through us. I actually believe that for this, everyone can make a difference. It doesn't matter how old you are or what kind of skill set you have. Yeah, but I believe as long as you're empowered by God, you can do a lot of things. First, by knowing that we as youths, we are not exempted from missions. Yeah, and the calling of missions is simple. For us, giving our best years to God will be in our youth. Yeah, when we are blessed in a sense where we have more flexibility, we have more time to do things for God. Yeah, and so for me, what I do is that whenever I'm in my poly semester break, I would take the opportunity to go for missions. I think next is how important it is to have a virtue and a heart of simplicity. Yeah, I think not overcomplicating our obedience towards God. And I think last but not least would really be just prayer. Yeah, I think it's something that's very simple, yeah, but yet it has so much power and meaning behind it. I think if you still cannot go overseas yet, that's still okay. So I think one thing that I did for myself was that we can simply do missions in Singapore. Yeah, so how this will work is that you could go outreach to some of the migrant workers in Singapore, and I think it provides a very good opportunity and a window to reach out to them, because as much as people overseas need to hear God's love and hope, I think so does the migrant workers. Secondly, also what you can do is to, again, you can pray. Yeah, you can intercede for on behalf of the land, give our tithe faithfully, so that we can enable and help others who are going overseas to do God's work also. I was quite convicted also when I heard this quote, yeah, and I tried to live my life by it. So again, it goes along the lines of only one life and it soon will pass, only what's done for Christ will last. Yeah, so I think with that, I choose to live my life daily and giving my best to God in not just the area of missions, but I think in this whole pursuit and this whole walk with God.